Good evening. Um, Hopefully some more will join and I'll add them in as they come. So welcome to our first virtual meeting of this year. It's February. We didn't have one in January because our speaker had to cancel because his wife went into labor. So Tim is going to be our guinea pig for 2024. You guys probably all got emailed today with all the upcoming events through July. So we're pretty popular, as you can see. So if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I won't go over all the admin stuff. Just make sure I don't have anything we do, for those of you who are in the Baltimore area, we do have an author event this Saturday at the museum from 12 to 2. Frank Amoroso has a new fictional book on Babe Ruth that will be available. That may be recorded. It will not be live streamed because the museum's not set up for that currently, but hopefully it'll get recorded and we can get it up on YouTube channel in the near future. Before Tim takes over, I'll tell you my introduction to his passport program, which I believe started in 2012, was in 2014. I was a newlywed, and I'd just gotten married. A couple months later, my mother-in-law passed away, and then I got laid off. So that was not a good start to our marriage, but that summer I did go to a couple of baseball games when I could. So I went to a Frederick Keys game, who everybody knows was the high A affiliate for the Orioles at the time. And it was sometime in late June, I believe. And I was on the concourse and I saw this little book. I know it's changed over the years, but it was the minor league passport that was on a concourse for sale. And I was like, that's interesting. So I purchased it, and I got it stamped in a couple different places that summer. Frederick, I think Bowie, maybe Aberdeen. And I didn't realize at the time there was a major league one. And of course, I bought the major league one in the off season and, got further and further into this. So I will let Tim, who I believe is joining us from Ohio, tell us about the program, how it started, and tell you his story, and then open it up for questions at the end. Go ahead, Tim.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor. I've known about SABR for a long time, so yeah, this should be fun. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the program. We don't advertise, so everything is pretty much word of mouth and has been since the program started. I initially came up with the idea in 2010 when I drove to the Arctic Circle with my daughter and my niece. And I'm a big Reds fan, grew up with the Big Red Machine. I was 13 years old when they won their first World Series in 1975. I live about 35 miles north of Cincinnati. So in Middletown, which is a home of Jerry Lucas, Chris Carter, and now Kyle Schwarber, for you Schwarber fans. Kyle's been in my house a number of times since he was in grade school. So it's kind of fun watching him play and have the success that he has. He has a book, as well as every member in his family. So they've enjoyed using it, watching Kyle play. But anyways, Bob Castellini, who is the owner of the Reds, him and I have been business partners for 27 years in an unrelated, a non-baseball related business. And so when he bought the team in 2003, I became, paying a little more attention to him and things. And so when I drove to Alaska, when you drive to Alaska, you go in and out of customs several times when you drive, and you don't get good cell service going up through there. So I was following the Reds every chance I got. Start reflecting back with a long drive, 12,000 miles, about growing up Big Red Machine in the 70s. And I got to thinking, like, I don't have any memories, any tickets, any nothing of all of my trips to Riverfront watching the Reds play. Been visiting ballparks with my kids for years. When I came up with this, and I just got back at the hotel at night and Googled and was looking at if there's anything out there I could use to commemorate my trip, and there wasn't anything that I could find anyway. And so when I got back from my trip, I hired a graphic arts person, and we began designing a prototype. When I got it done, got the stamp made, how it would all work and everything, I called Phil Castellini, Bob's son, and said, "Hey, Phil, I got this idea I want to show you." He said, "Sure, come on down." It was an easy phone call, so I was lucky there. And I showed him how it would work, the stamp, the book. He loved the idea. He said, "Can I take all the stuff with me? I'm going to the winter meetings in Orlando in a couple of weeks." And he said, "I'm going to have an offline meeting with MLB about it." And he said, "I'll get back to you." And I said, "Great." So I'd say about maybe 3-4 weeks later, he calls me up and says, "Hey, Tim, come on down to the ballpark. We're going to have a conference call with MLB about your book. They love it, and they want to talk to you." So I went down to the ballpark. We had, went to the big boardroom there, which was pretty neat. And they said, "Tim, we love it. We're going to give you the license to do it." And so we had a short time frame there before the season started in 2011. So we produced a Reds only passport for the very first season. And then in 2012, we released the leather book, which is this one right here, the Ballpark Passport book, which has become our #1 selling book since we started. So, and the rest is pretty much history. We've added a spring training book, a game day book. We then signed the minor league license. It's 2 separate licenses, the minor league baseball and the Major League Baseball. And then this year in December, we released the new baseball attractions passport, which looks like this, which the Babe Ruth Museum is a part of. And that book consists of 33 museums and Hall of Fames from around the country. And the program is modeled after the MLB program. And so we're pretty excited about that. And yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a whirlwind. I can't believe it's been, going on 14 years since it started. So it's been a lot of fun.
Quick question for you, Tim. Tell them about how the differences with the big book has pre-printed pages versus like the minor league and the Major League Ballpark passports are basically blank, and how you can add when there's new ballparks that appear for the big leather book, how you can add in. So, for instance, I bought my book in 13 into 14. So it had ballparks that were in existence at that time. Turner Field was there, the old ballpark at Arlington. So a couple places have since gone by the wayside, and new ones have come into existence. So I still have Turner Field, and a couple of the other ones still in there, but then I've added more. Can you tell us how you created that, and how you can, with baseball, obviously, parks coming and going, how you created the program to keep up with all the changes?
Okay. Yeah, my audio was really low. I can barely hear. I think I got most of the question. Can you guys hear me okay? See, I can't hear anybody really. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, Peter. I've got the volume turned up. But I think the question was about adding ballparks as they're built, or new ballparks and things.
Yeah.
One of the first things that when I was designing the book was that knowing how the new stadiums are being built, expansion of teams, all these things had to be factored in. when I was creating the book. It had to become a living book that never became outdated. So we made it as a binder. This was a 6-ring binder. And so what we've done is that we've had 2 new ballparks since the book began, since it was created. And we produce an insert for those who already have the book. So if you went to Turner Field, Globe Life Park, which were the current 30 then, when they moved, we would produce, along with the new book, an insert, a 6-page standalone insert for the back of the book. So if you have one of the books prior to Atlanta being built, you would now have what we call 30 plus 2 in your book. You'd have the 30 that you visited plus the 2 inserts, the 2 new ballparks. And then any books that are produced from the year of Truist Park have just those 30 in it. So like now, the book's being made, we sell in the team stores and online. It's got Globe Life Field in there. So it's the license covers just the current 30 ballparks. And so we add to that. So obviously with Oakland is going to be that's the first, because we've never had a relocated team. But it'll be the same way. We'll produce an insert. We'll have to change a few things on the map. But the book will always be updated, will always be current. It'll never become outdated, which makes it very unique. I know a lot of collectibles and things that I've seen over my years, and I'm a big baseball card collector, is that they have either the sponsor name, which we got away from because of all the name changes. So we went to just the team name, but with the stamp itself, the stamp will always have the sponsor name available at the ballpark. So that's how we handle that. So fans don't have to worry about if they purchase a book, if when a new ballpark is built or relocated, that the book then becomes obsolete, or you have to buy a new book. You don't have to. So you just buy the insert and add it to the back of the book, and you're current.
Anybody have any questions for Tim? I have a couple more, but Karen, go ahead. Make sure you take off mute.
I don't. Okay. I'm not sure what.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can barely hear. I can barely hear, and I'm trying. I've turned the volume all the way up. I'm not sure why it.
Okay.
Why it's doing this? To be honest with you, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
But I can hear. I'll put my phone up. Go ahead.
Okay, you're talking about 33 museums.
Yes.
Okay, what's the most popular one that you've found?
Well, I think when I did my research, like I said, this book is brand new, so I don't have a lot of feedback from everybody. But now I haven't been to all these 33. I didn't know 33 even existed. I kind of write the story in there in the front of the book about, I call them hidden gems, places that I didn't really knew was out there. And a couple of them that I kind of created working with local tourism offices and things like that. Obviously, I've been to the Babe Ruth Museum back in 2014 when I was watching the Reds play there at Camden Yards. That was my stamp in my book, watching the Reds play in all 30. And, you've got obviously the Baseball Hall of Fame, Louisville Slugger. Those are the big ones. But, we added like the Clemente Museum, the Ty Cobb Museum, the Yogi Berra Museum. There were 2 other museums in Canada. Now, the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame has been trying for years to get me to add them into we call it the big book, the MLB Ballpark Passport book. And in that book is the Baseball Hall of Fame. They were one of the originals that I had in the book. The only non-stadium venue was the Baseball Hall of Fame. I had added the Negro League Museum in Kansas City and the Field of Dreams movie site, along with the Louisville Slugger. So I had those 4 in there. So with the expansion of the 2 new ballparks, now Las Vegas, that got me thinking about those museums that were in the back of the book. I have to pull them out of the book to make room for the MLB International Series, the MLB Field of Dreams game, which is in Rickwood this year. So it prompted me to research and see if I could come up with a book of museums and attractions that people could use as side trips when they visit, say, Camden Yards, or Pittsburgh. So I found a lot of really neat places, and very, very, very excited about that. So we got the Savannah Bananas are in there. There will be a traveling stamp that will have that the bananas will have with them when they go on the road. So you can take your book and stamp in at a Bananas game. You can also catch them at the Grayson Stadium. Yeah, it's a really neat book. So very, very excited about it.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, how much does the book cost?
The MLB Ballpark book is $75.95 on our website, and the new Attractions Passport is $65.95. One of the things that was very important to me, this is not my day job. This is a kind of like SABR, this is a hobby. This is something that it's a passion for me. And I wanted to make this book affordable for, anyone who was a fan, who was a baseball fan, could get it. It wasn't, out of their reach. It's a very high quality book. It's a 6-ring binder. It's got thread stitching. You can tell you, it's just, it's built to last a lifetime. And, to me, it's about the memories that you have with the people that you go with. It's old school. So you have to get the stamp, inside the ballpark. You have to, write with a ink pen or a Sharpie or something in the book. You have to fill in the stats, the game day stats. And that was important to me, was not to have something that was digital or computer generated. It was something in your own handwriting. And so, and you don't find that very often, but if my kids are looking back, or my grandkids, or even, generations from now, if they want to find out what their grandpa did or great grandpa did, they can read in my own words, my own writing, what I experienced at the ballpark. And I tell everyone, I said I would give anything if I'd have had just one game with my grandpa in the book. I'm 60 years old now. So you're talking about watching Babe Ruth and, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Mickey Mantle, just to have one game in anything in my book would be priceless. And I tell people to buy the book now. I said, the Mike Trouts, the Otanis. I said, those, the Aaron Judges, those are the Ted Williams, the Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth of today, and so I think it's, having them in the book is, just something that people who are fans of baseball, the memories they share, that's what makes it all unique to me. And I think that's been part of the, big part of the success of the book has been that.
If someone does go to more than one game in a stadium, is there a way to record those memories?
Yes. We have 4 different books, and it's for all, some people don't like to write, so we have what we call a validation passport, and it looks just like a U.S. passport, traveling to a different country. It's just for stamps only. So, fans will go in, they'll get the stamp, and that's it. We have what's called a game day passport, and that is used in conjunction with the MLB Ballpark Passport book. So let's say you travel, to a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday game, or during the week or whatever. So if you go to Baltimore for a Saturday game, you would stamp your first game in the leather book, the big book. And then if you go to the Sunday game, you would stamp that in the game day book. So that way you're recording every game you go to. None of the books compete against each other. So we only have one book for visiting all 30 ballparks specifically. And the game day book, like I'm a season ticket holder of the Reds. So I take my game day book to every game I go to. So, and I've got probably a lot better games in that book than I have in my big leather book, because you never know what's going to happen when you go to the ballpark. So I've got LA last year. I got LA Daily Cruz's first hit, his first run, his first stolen base. All that's in my game day book. And so we've made it to where you stamp and record every game you go to if you want to.
Mhm. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, Tom.
Um, Two questions. First is, in your museum book, what qualifies as a museum? What I'm thinking of is one great attraction in Cleveland is going to the Ray Chapman grave in Lakeview Cemetery, which has the mausoleum for President James Garfield. What category would that come under, if any?
Well, I have to have like the certain criteria that each venue or museum had to meet. And one was that they had to be obviously in business for a while, established, and there had to be like a front office, a gift shop somewhere where the physical stamp is housed and secure and available for fans to ask for when they come. And so each museum or venue had to meet that criteria first before I got to the part about including them in the book. So a place like a mausoleum or a cemetery, it's about near impossible, I think, to have a stamp to be the stamps are if you've never seen one, they're 6-year daters, and it's got a dial on it, and that dial is turned to the date that you're there. So let's say if you go to Great American Ballpark on opening day, the stamp will be turned to March 28th, 2024. And so, and the ink pad is there as well. That we supply all the stamps and ink pads to all the teams. So we're talking about the 30 MLB teams, the 100 and I think we're at 160 minor league affiliated teams, or 120 of them, I'm sorry. And then the 24 spring training ballparks, plus all the attractions and venues. So, we have well over 200 stamps out there in circulation. So, but the place has to have a secure, somebody to keep the stamp. So.
Okay, a second question is, I've been to 47 major league ballparks, and a bunch of them obviously no longer exist. And I have proof of all 47, either a ticket to the game or a scorecard or something. If I got one of these passports, how would buy it? Well, a whole bunch of questions here. One is, how do you prove now with the ballparks gone that you were there other than to have written proof? And secondly, since your passport only has 30 parks in it, I got here late, so I may have missed, you may have already answered some of this. What do I do for the other 17?
Well, my license only is covered by the current or existing 30 MLB ballparks, and so that's why there's only 30 in there. Obviously, when there's a new stadium built, like Atlanta, like Texas, once they are built in operation, they become part of the license, and so I don't have rights to any former ballparks. If you were talking about, Comiskey Park, the Metrodome, any ballpark that was, Shea Stadium, Old Yankee Stadium, any ballpark that was built prior to the program, I don't have any stamps. My stamps only go back to 2012, which is the year that we started. We just started here in the last, I think it's probably the last 9-10 months. We began offering what's called a back stamp service. So for new book sales, so if you've already been to, we've had people that have ordered up, all 30 stamps, where they can go in and enter the dates into their visits, and the stamps that we have, which have been a part of our license, we can stamp the book before we ship it out. And so if you went to, say, AT&T Park in San Francisco in 2012, and you had the date, we would stamp that with the AT&T stamp. So the stamps would be whatever the name of the ballpark was at the date of your visit, back to 2012. But like I said, we don't have, any rights to use or, any of the old ballparks that aren't in existence.
Thank you.
Got to unmute, Bob.
Those stamps for the back stamping service, are they the same stamps that are in the ballpark?
Yes, exactly. Actually, when I started the back stamp service, I had to make sure I came up with enough stamps to cover all 30 teams, plus the ones that were older and changed names. So, for example, I think it was in 2016, I had U.S. Cellular for the White Sox, and then it became Guaranteed Rate Field in 2017. So I had to make sure I had enough stamps, and then what I did was that I had those stamps repurposed. Of course, obviously, a lot of the teams would send the stamps back to me after they had expired. They're 6-year daters. So I was fortunate enough to have enough stamps to be able to offer the back stamp service when the program started. And so, so I've got all the old sponsored names. If you're looking at, AT&T, U.S. Cellular in Chicago, Globe Life Park, Turner Field, Safeco Field. So yeah, I've got all the old sponsored names. So so starting in 2012 till present time, whatever the name of the ballpark was at the date of those visits, that's what the stamps would be, and they're the exact same stamps that I have made for the ballparks. Yeah.
So if I went to a game in 2014 at AT&T, it won't be marked Oracle Park.
No, it will not be.
Gotcha. And generally, where are the stamps in a ballpark? Are they in the gift shop, one of the major gift stores, or where do they typically reside?
Yeah, inside the book on pages 6 and 7, we list specifically where every single stamp is located at inside the ballpark.
Oh, cool.
So, for example, at Great American, we have the stamp in 7 different locations.
Gotcha.
Some are the team stores, some are guest relations, customer service, fan accommodations, kiosks, things like that. So,
Gotcha.
there's, each ballpark has multiple stamp locations. So like the Dodgers have, I think, 10.
Gotcha.
you know, and of course they have the restricted access depending on what ticket you've got, you know. So I have to make sure that stamps are located and convenient and easily accessible for everyone to stamp, you know.
Got it.
So
Very
see, in the
cool.
early years, we didn't know where they were going to be at. So we would put, you know, gift shop / customer service. It was actually of the Wild Goose Chase, I think, for a lot of fans in the early years. But then we started, you know, once we got into it and things were established, we started printing inside the book where to go to, so they weren't running around everywhere, you know, trying to find a stamp.
And then the ballpark workers generally know what you're talking about when you ask for the stamp.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's
Thank you.
there's no question now. You know, we've had people that have, you know, they've just gone in and asked a usher or somebody working something, where's your passport stamp? And yeah, they probably have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Right.
But if you go, you know, obviously if you get the book, every single book, like I said, it tells you where to go to. If you look at those locations, where ballpark it is, you go to that location, they will 100% know exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, part of the fun is you stamp it yourself. And you can also have the ballpark staff, if you want them to stamp it, you know, a lot of people do that. So, yeah, there's no question about if you know, if this is fully licensed, all the teams are on board. There isn't anyone that's not.
Gotcha.
So,
and how do you find out, you know, downstream when there's a new stadium? How does a buyer get the 31st or the 32nd or the 33rd stadium added to the book?
yeah, that'll be on our website only. So we only have two distribution channels. The book is either sold at one of the venues inside the book, the team store, or in the attractions place, the attractions museums and things, and online. And so we have everything on our website, which is, you know, plastered everywhere all over the book. So, and, you know, and of course we have the Facebook group called Ballpark Stampeders, which Peter is a member of. And I'm always actively involved in that group, announcing new products, you know, things like that. So, but yeah, I'm, you know, when those things happen, like the new ballpark, when we get all the information and when we get, you know, we make it available on the website, and then we also announce it within the group. And we will do an email out from the emails that we collect from the orders online, a mass emailing, notifying people of anything new, inserts, whatever else that we've done to keep the books updated and current.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll give another plug in addition to the Facebook groups, which is very active. There's thousands of people in there. Annually, which I have not done every year. I don't know, Tim, what year it started. They basically do a stampede every summer. And all the years that I've been following, I think it's almost always been in Cincinnati at the Great American. But this year, it's actually on my birthday, and I'm considering going, is at the Field of Dreams, where people basically who are part of this program that want to get together meet for a game or at a certain event. So if you're on Facebook, you want to join this group, it's very, very, very active. I've met a lot of people in the group alone. And interestingly, a couple years ago, I think it was the first year post-pandemic, I was working at the Babe Ruth Museum. And obviously, this is before it was on the trail, so to speak. Somebody came through and asked if we had a stamp or we were going to, and said, no, not yet, but we're trying someday soon, et cetera, et cetera. And her name was Melissa Johnson, and she's a big Rangers fan. She actually works at the current Globe Life Field, and we've stayed in touch and everything. And then last year, she is the one, she works in customer service for the Rangers, and she actually does the stamping there. So you get to know names and people and all this kind of stuff. Tim and I have never officially met in person yet, but I've talked to him. We tried to get the museum right around the time of the pandemic to join the original Big Book program and be like Cooperstown and the Louisville Slugger and stuff. But those books are very expensive because it's all major league teams and the logos and the trademarks and everything that goes into it. We would have had to carry the Big Book at the museum store. And of course, the pandemic, everybody lost money, and you know how the world went. So we kind of bided our time, and luckily the ballpark attractions passport came out, which is, like he said, all museums and nonprofits and special locations like Rickwood Field. So now we're instead of competing with the MLB type program, the attractions are their own thing. I told people about this, and a lot of people knew about the MLB or the minor league version of the passports, but now with this attraction one, it gives extra incentive because some of these places are a little bit more out of the way. The Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum, for example, it's in a town that has a minor league team, but there's not a lot else to do down there. So I was the very first stamp at the Babe Ruth Museum back in, I think it was a couple days before Christmas. And hopefully, it brings more people to these attractions. You guys are all big baseball fans, and I'm sure you know a lot of these places are nonprofits and kind of scrape by. And COVID took the wind out of the sails of a lot of places because they were shut down for months and months at a time. So their budgets took a big hit. And especially certain cities now, like in Baltimore, where the team is doing good, not only will the attendance go up, but perhaps the baseball attractions in those towns as well will do a little bit better. So I'm glad to be a part of this. I'm sorry I didn't discover it for the first couple of years, but I've been a very enthusiastic participant and told other people about this. Hey, I'd love to go to parks. I'd love to get involved with this. And you have different choices. You don't have to get the big leather book. You can get the smaller, the validation passport, so to speak. There's also a spring training one. I only went to spring training once in the last decade, but if I ever go again, I have the spring training passport where I can, get more sites in Florida or Arizona. So, it's kind of one of these things that's a little bit for everybody. Everybody needs a new car, but we all can't afford the same car. We don't like the same style. So somebody wants an Accord, and somebody wants a more fancy sports car type thing. So there's different levels and options. So I'm glad that this exists, for the baseball fan and all of us. We like to go to parks. We like to go to games, whether it's major or minor. We all live in different cities and different parts of the country. Last year, prior to the, I don't know if any of you guys went to the SABR convention in Chicago last summer. I left a couple of days early, and I went to Milwaukee. It used to be Miller Park, and now it's something family. So I went there, got the stamp there. I went to the Field of Dreams, and I went to a minor league game in Cedar Rapids, and then went to the SABR convention in Chicago. So I got my stamp at whatever Comiskey's called these days, guaranteed rate. So, I saw three parks in like 5 days plus the Field of Dreams. So, you know how we are. We take vacations and that kind of thing around around the sport we love. So, my wife, this is my sort of thing. This is not her thing. So, when I go out of town and without her, and I happen to, last year I made a trip down to Richmond to see the Flying Squirrels because I'd never been there. It's too far away. Got my stamp there, got to see that park. So, there's always something or someplace that you always wanted to get to. And this kind of gives you a little bit more incentive to make the effort. That's sort of how I am. And hopefully, some of the other guys probably think the same way. I'm hoping Tim, gets a little bit more oomph with this program, now that he's part of SABR. Hopefully, maybe he'll even go to the SABR convention and more people get to know about it. It's we're all baseball fans. We all have the things we like, we don't like, which parks we love, which teams we can't stand, et cetera, et cetera. And this makes even go into enemy territory. Like, I don't like Fenway. I'll tell you right now, I've been to Fenway twice in my life before this passport existed. So I have to go back again to get the stamp. So I'm not looking forward to it, but I'll do it just to, because I'm a completist and want to get it done. So it's on my list. I've never been to Toronto. Never really wanted to go to Toronto from everything I've heard about the Sky Dome. But I'll go up there just to say I did it, and I have validation and confirmation that I was there. So that's how I am. I get enthused about this stuff. It's pitchers and catchers report in a week. So we're getting to that time of year. The heck with the oblong ball made of pigskin that gets kicked through the big H. Don't follow that at all. So once that's over, thank God. And then the boys of summer will be sort of arriving soon. So I've yapped a little too long. Does anybody have any other questions for Tim?
I have one for you, Pete. Which of you obviously have the minor league version and the leather book? Are they the two that you have, or do you have other ones?
I have. Let's see. The first one I got was minor league, and a lot of the time, I think over the years the covers have changed. Updated versions. So I have the minor league one, which I believe has space for 30 games, and I think I have around 15 or 16 stamped, and I only do it once for each venue. I have the big leather book. This is the one circa 2014, I guess, 13, 14, I got it. So it had Turner Field in it. And I added the updates which is now Truist Park, but I think the first update I got still says SunTrust. So I think in the big book.
Yeah, one of the things that we did after so many name changes was that we took the sponsor name out of the book. So it says just the teams, even though the description is still the same ballpark.
Yeah. So
we've kind of done that to keep the book in sync with everything.
Yeah, which is smart, because the corporate names, this company bought this company, and 3 months later the name has changed again. So,
but the stamps change, is that accurate?
What's that?
The stamps change as the name changes?
Yes.
Yes.
Gotcha. But the
Tim,
pages are generic. Yeah.
Quick question: did the stamps now say Oriole Park at Camden Yards, or will it say Baltimore Orioles and then
No, the stamp will always be the name of the ballpark.
Ballpark, okay.
So it'll be Oriole Park at Camden Yards, so Opaki.
Yeah, I don't think. Hopefully that never changes.
Yeah. So
Carlisle Stadium.
Yeah. So
as long as the ballpark as long as it's not a new ballpark, the teams listed in the book that's currently being sold on the website and in team stores, it's in alphabetical order, and it has a description of the ballpark. We just took out in the original books, in a few subsequent print runs, we had the name of the ballpark. So this was Miller Park, Safeco Field, AT&T.
This one says City Field on it.
Pardon?
I'm holding up my City Field page from the big book.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we got it became like SunTrust is the one that was the kicker right there. So we couldn't make inserts. So now the inserts will be like for Global Life Field, the insert is Texas Rangers, but the description is of Global Life Field.
Got it.
So we've had to eliminate the sponsor name from being printed, but the stamp itself is the sponsor name. So on your Texas Rangers page, your stamp will say Global Life Field.
One thing nobody mentioned, you guys probably don't know this unless you were on the Ballpark Passport site, is you can get your own stamp. With whatever you want it to say on it. Obviously, there's a limited number of characters. I got my own stamp just at Christmas. I haven't used it yet. I mean, I did it once just to make sure it worked right. Mine says this is Birdland, and it has Baltimore, Maryland, and it has my home zip code, not the Orioles, even though I only live a mile away. So a lot of people have their own custom stamps with, I know Tim knows Jay and Jen I forget their last name. Like they have one. They're local. They're Orioles fans. They have one that says the house that Cal built, or somebody else has one that says the ballpark that changed baseballs. You know, there's a woman who's in the Stamper group up in the Boston area. I'm blanking on her name. I've never met her. Hers says Green Monsta, Monstah. You know, you can get your own custom stamp created for whatever, you know, the fee is. I want to say it's 60 or 70 bucks. So I have my own this year. So that way somebody wants my stamp in their passport if they're visiting Campton Yards the first time when they, you know, come across me and I have it, you know, it's just, you know, more personalized, you know, stuff for those of us who are pretty crazy and, you know, this sort of thing. So
Yeah, the stamp that Peter is referring to after COVID, when COVID happened, and of course they, you know, shut down baseball and nobody was visiting the ballparks and things like that. And of course, for me, that was almost a kiss of death, because this whole book and program is about visiting ballparks. And so it got me thinking after we came through that and everything, and they opened everything back up, I got to thinking like, okay, you know, what can I do to help the fans out there who are baseball fans, who love it, who watch, but they can't make it to the ballpark for whatever reason, whether it be for health reasons, if they're shut-ins, if they're elderlies, if they don't have the finances, but they love baseball, they love watching it on TV. And so what I created then was using the same stamp, because every stamp that is made is a custom-made stamp. So if it's Great American Ballpark, if it's, you know, PNC Park, Wrigley Field, Dodger Stadium, those are all custom made when I have them made. There's no, you know, there's not a stock of those stamps I buy from. So each rubber piece on that stamp is custom made. So what I did was come up with a product called the Stamp at Home Kit. So if you were a shut-in or you're in a nursing home, and so you would have a stamp made with your name on it, your city, state, and zip code, and of course it has the data on it. And in that Stamp at Home Kit includes your choice of a book, either be a game day book or a minor league book or the validation passport. And you get the book, and when you're watching a game on TV, you stamp in just like you were at the ballpark. You would stamp in at home, and then you would use the book as you would at the ballpark. So you fill in, you know, the stats, the teams, all the information. You know, you write in the journal about the game. You know, you might have, you know, whoever's there sign your book that they were with you, you know, when you watched it. And so the people in the Stampeders group took it to a whole different level. So they started then making their own custom stamps to take with them to the ballpark. And so it was pretty neat to see that. And that's really, you know, taking it to a whole new level. So yeah, that whole thing has been a lot of fun to watch.
So basically, I have every book you could have, to answer your question, Bob.
I
Anybody
tell a lot
else?
of people that was one of the things that prompted the back stamp service. You know, Tim, I've already been to so many ballparks. I've, you know, done this and that, and you know, I tell everybody, I say, look, I said, if you've got no plans on going back to a ballpark, so get a book, go to the ones that you haven't been to yet, stamp in there, you know, get those memories, you know, let's go with your kids, grandkids, your buddies, whoever, go to those, however many it is, 10, 12, whatever, finish those. You know, you may want to go back to some of the ones you've already been to. I said, but hand your book off then to one of your kids or to your grandkids, and let them go to the ones, you know, then you have a, you know, multi-generational book, which to me makes it even more treasured, you know, even more priceless. having that cross generation thing. So, there's all kinds of different scenarios and things that if you have no, intentions of going back to visiting, say Fenway, like I'm not going back there again, so, I'm not going to buy a book. Well, buy a book and go to the ones you want to go to, and then let someone else complete that journey. Unfortunately, we've had several in the last year or so of deaths of people who were visiting ballparks. We've had, a mom in the group. Her son was killed in a car accident, and he was a huge passport guy, very active in the group, loved his book. That was his favorite thing to do in the world, was taking his passport book. And he still had, I think it was maybe 18 ballparks left to complete his 30. And so his mom and his sister took the book and finished the 18 ballparks that he hadn't been to. And they did it all last year. So, there's a lot of different reasons, in things you can do to get the book if you've already been to a number of ballparks and things like that, in addition to the back stamp service to get you current. So, like I say, it's always an evolving product. There's always something, and being the first one to ever do it, it's a learning process for me, to go, take the book in this direction or that direction, so yeah, been a lot of fun. Been a challenge.
Anybody else? Hopefully, it seems self-explanatory, but you learn as you go. And like, Tim said, there's no set way to, you don't have to follow the yellow brick road. You can kind of make it your own path and do it your way. That's one of the things I liked about it.
I will say that you brought something about the Stampede that I host. The Stampede is for fans who buy the brown leather book. Once you get that big book, like I said, I don't advertise. I don't pay for advertising. Because it's a book, it's a program that we have to explain, and you can't explain it in a 10 or 15 second, radio ad or TV commercial or something like that, or even in a magazine. And maybe at some point, if we have the branding, like a Nike or Pepsi or Coke or whatever, we can do that. But this book, you have to explain it. You have to explain the purpose, how it works. There's always 100 questions for someone who's never heard of it. What I've done is that with the Stampede, by doing that, which it goes like a Great American Ballpark. So we have somewhere around 300 or 400 people that come, and I pay for it 100%. So I pay for the tours, the Reds Hall of Fame. I pay for the field level game ticket for every person. The whole day, we have a Q&A guest speaker, which has been, Marty Brenneman, Chris Wells, George Foster, Bill Bray, Bob Castellini, Tom Brenneman, who's no longer broadcasting, Jeff Brantley, Tom Browning, who just passed away. He was a guest. And so I provide that 100%. And so you ask, why do you do that? Is it costing, tens of thousands of dollars? Is that these are the people that go out and do the marketing and selling and advertising for me, because they're the ones that are explaining it. They're sharing it with other people in the ballpark. And so the Field of Dreams event that I'm having in August is an all-day thing. We're playing a softball game under the lights. We're watching the movie Field of Dreams on the field after the softball game. We'll have a huge hospitality tent. All the food, drinks, and everything is provided for that. And so when you purchase the leather book, that benefit comes along with it. And all those things are announced in the Facebook group about those dates and times and things like that. So just an added benefit. and there's never a cost to anyone except your travel to get there and back is your own expense. I don't pay for travel or hotels for people, but the event itself is 100% paid for by the passport.
Well, guys, it's been about an hour. If you have any other questions, obviously you can reach out to Tim directly. He's a SABR member. One of these days I'll actually meet him in person. And of course, hopefully we'll see him at future events, whether he comes to Baltimore or if you guys go to Cincinnati. I'm sure he's there for a lot of those games, and maybe he'll come to a SABR convention, in the near future. So I'm glad, number one, to be a part of the passport program. I think my big leather book is about half full. I did it for a couple of years. I did really good. And then, guys, people know me. I had cancer and kidney failure and was going through this and that and the other things. The year I almost didn't make it, my wife and I went down the last month of its existence to Turner Field in like September of 2016. So I can get that stamp and see that park before it closed and possibly before I said goodbye to Earth. I do what I can when I can, like the rest of us. And I'm greatly appreciative to Tim for, one, appearing and talking to us, but for coming up with this program, because, I wish it existed in the early 2000s before my dad passed, because I would have loved to experience some of this with him. He died actually in 2012. So, but I have nieces and nephews and stuff like that I'm going to pass this, hopefully along to. I guess that's about it, unless you guys have any other questions. I'll let you back to your evenings. The next issue of the Baltimore Chop, obviously, will be coming out in April, so right after opening day. So if anybody wants to contribute articles, send them to Ruth before the end of March. Anybody going to opening day this year? The home opener is the 28th of March. That happens to be, again, Holy Thursday. So the first series, those of you who have the series at home is over Easter weekend. So might affect attendance and stuff like that.
Is the Babe Ruth Museum doing the block party?
They're planning on doing it. It will be announced. I don't know if they're going to get as many tickets, as we all know what's going on with the Orioles right now and the transition and everything. So in the past, they usually have had 500 game tickets. This year, they might only get 300. So, it's first come, first serve, members first and all that stuff. But yeah, they're planning on doing it. And obviously, if you don't get tickets to the game, you'll at least be able to go to the pregame party.
Yep. Very good.
So
that's a great time.
I appreciate it.
I have one comment. With the Orioles making a great trade, are they a lock to win it all this year?
I'd like to say so. I turned 50 this year, so that would be a nice gift for me. I think Boston's going to be awful. Tampa and Toronto, I'm not sure with. The Yankees didn't really do that much, but they haven't been sub 500 since 1992. So more than likely they'll be in the running. Texas obviously is a good team, and the Astros will be there, but I don't see anybody else in the American League. So I know Tom hates when I say that, because he's this is our Cleveland, this is our year thing, and but with the new manager and everything, I don't even see you winning your division. So
no, they're going to be hard pressed to beat 500. However, this may be the first time in a long time, Punxsutawney Phil, and the Ohio version is Ohio Chuck in Marion, Ohio. Both of them did not see their shadow. So I don't know what to make of this. If it is any kind of omen at all, to say that means that the Indians could possibly make it to the playoffs and win a World Series, or they got no chance and forget about it. But in springtime, everybody has hopes.
Well, if the Cubs can break a 108-year curse, anybody can do anything. So that's the way I look at it. So
Well, they did it against the Indians, and that's
I know, and normally I'd go for the AL, but the Cubs are my NL team, and I was going through cancer that year, so seeing the Cubs win in 7 games really gave me some hope to keep fighting. So, under normal
Yes.
circumstances, I'm an AL guy, though.
we're looking forward to play ball. It's
All
always a
right.
sign that winter's over.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you,
agreed.
everybody.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Tim. This was
See you at the
awesome.
ballpark. You guys know how to reach me if you have any questions. Tim, much appreciated, sir, and we'll be in touch. And pitchers and catchers report in 7 days.
All right.
All right.
Season.
Have a good evening, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Evening.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.